All right, hi everybody. This is Wilson Sessions with my special guest, Willy Rivera.
Yellow.
All right, I'd like to go ahead and get started with your musical background. How did you first start learning?
I want to say I took a couple lessons. Never really stuck with it. I did not have the discipline or the patience to really sit down and try to learn Mary Had a Little Lamb and all that other stuff. So I really just kind of learned to play by ear. My parents gave me an acoustic when I first started out. They said basically if I get decent enough at that, they would give me an electric. So kind of was teaching myself little things here and there, and what really got it going is when I learned how to play by ear along to Ramones and Black Sabbath and Cream and stuff like that. You know, the Deep Purple stuff that was simple enough for me to kind of figure out where the chords were on the fingerboard and try to follow along. But as far as formal lessons, I've never really had any. So it was just kind of trying to do that, and when I got tired of playing other people's stuff, I just started writing my own.
What are you doing now as far as learning?
As far as learning, basically taking, like I said, what I had done before as far as finding a sound that I'm comfortable with and expanding within that. You tend to find those chords that you feel comfortable with, and a certain sound and whatever that you can kind of make your own, and then be able to expand, you know, try stuff that's a little more difficult. And like I said, you could always try, what I try to do is try to play to the brink of my ability. And if you know, you get good enough at that where you get that tight and try to push beyond that. So if you're playing at the brink of your ability and you're trying to get that to where you can perform it with 3 or 4 other people in the room, everybody's on the same page and everybody can play off, you know, the material, then you can be able to record that and also play it live. That's the ultimate test, is trying to get to where you can play something that's intricate, a little more complicated, or just something that's beyond what you usually can do, and play that in front of people, and also be able to put on a show at the same time, and you're not just sitting there staring at your fretboard the entire time. So, which is easier said than done.
What would you like to, or what would you like to learn next?
I just want to be able to expand what I do, and not just, I'm one of those guys that I'm known, you know, or I've made a reputation for myself for playing heavier music. It's what tend to be good at. It's what I write in. I tend to, I'm less about learning scales and that kind of stuff, whereas if I pick up a guitar, 9 times out of 10, it's to write. So I would consider myself more of a, as corny as it sounds, a songwriter. So I tend to, you know, write more, and, you know, I like writing hooks. I like writing riffs that are, you know, like I said, trying to push what I can do as far as the brink of my ability, but then expand within that, and you know, take other forms of music. And, you know, I don't only listen to metal, so it's everything from post-punk to industrial to new wave to, you know, electronica. I mean, it's all that stuff. I like to be able to incorporate that stuff into what I do. And great example of that is, you know, the solo album I did, Under Absent Sky. That album is a great mix of everything from Dinosaur Jr. inspired indie rock to, you know, Skinny Puppy electronica to Bauhaus and, you know, The Cure, that kind of stuff. It's all pretty much a big mishmash on that record of, like, and I didn't have to worry about playing the stuff live, so I can layer and do all these different things that I've always wanted to do. That in the context of a band and having to compromise with other people, sometimes that you don't get that vision all the way through. And as far as Lord goes, which is my main band, we're just trying to push what we're known for and expand that. We're taking a lot of influences that we weren't able to pull off before. With the lineup changes, we recently lost our original drummer, and bringing these new guys in, so obviously there's new blood, new influences, and it freed me up as a songwriter, because I didn't have to just play to one strength of what I usually do, which is one of the reasons that when Lord was always around before, I was always doing other side projects, because I was just kind of like, okay, well, this is cool, but I want to do this and this and this, and I can't do that within this context, where now I don't have to necessarily worry about that, because the parameters have been expanded, and these guys are way more willing to play you know, something that's influenced by like ISIS, or you know, something that has a little more black metal vibe to it, or you know, if they want to do acoustic songs. I mean, the parameters of what we're capable of has expanded. You know, we've always been able to pull off the material, but it's just having people who were willing to do that within Lord and change the perception of what we could do with Lord, and you know, not necessarily cater to just one thing and have it be like, okay, well, this is the only thing these guys can do. They're a one-trick pony, and I never wanted to do that. To me, it's you take that and push it further and expand within that. Even on the first record, you know, we were able to do thrash songs and punk songs in the midst of, you know, these sludgier tunes. So if anybody who's really paid attention, each record has been an evolution. You know, there was, you know, synth elements and electronic elements on all those things, and we just want to expand within that and add the stuff that we're doing now is a lot of progressive influences, which is a lot of the stuff that I've been listening to, a lot of progressive rock. So bringing that into the context of what we do in Lord and having these guys who are they're committed to what we do and what the Lord sound is, but also want to take it further and not just play the same stuff we were doing 10 years ago. So,
all right. With your influences, what is your? I know you must have a lot of influences, but what is like your top 3 influences?
Oh, top 3. Man,
And this could be past, present, or somebody you're just getting into right now.
Okay, I would say definite. Man, top 3 is going to be hard. I would say Tom Warrior from Celtic Frost and Triptychon is definitely probably my primary, just because of his commitment to the vision of what he sees as his band and the aesthetic and everything, as far as the presentation, the artwork, the music, his tone. All of that, to me, is just, it's all him. Whoever he has in the band is complementing that vision. So, to me, as an artist in general, and not just a musician, I think he is definitely somebody that I've looked to as a constant inspiration, and somebody that I continue to listen to. And even when he's had his past faux pas and, you know, stuff that necessarily wasn't kosher for his fan base, it was his being daring enough to try something different that wasn't necessarily going to be accepted. You know, so he's always been willing to take chances, and that's something I definitely look at as inspiration. I mean, you know, you don't want to be. I love Motorhead, I love AC/DC, but I don't want to be that. I don't want to be the guy who does the same thing all the time. So I would say definitely Tom Warrior. Richie Blackmore is another guy, just from his style, the way he carried himself, that being dedicated to your vision, and regardless of, you know, lineups or whatever you're calling it, he has always been steadfast in what his vision was going to be, and does not get enough credit for his abilities and what he brought to the genre, whether it was a classic rock or the beginnings of what became metal with Rainbow. He was really the first shredder, you know, as far as his guitar playing. I mean, he, you know, brought in classical influences to blues-based rock, you know, and made it heavier and darker. You know, it's just his whole aura was cool. You know, it was badass. When you're a teenager, you look at that guy and you're like, okay, that's what I want to be. You know, so he's another one. I would say, I mean, there's other guys like Greg Ginn, you know, from Black Flag, just his experimentation within the realms of punk rock and bringing other influences in. Buzz Osborne from the Melvins, you know, his abilities and what he's done to inspire a whole genre, and just his whole vibe of being that kind of weird and quirky but heavy as hell. You know, I've always been really into that. I think that's really kind of just taking something and thinking about it. It's not necessarily metal, but it's metal in its attitude, you know. But I'd say the other big one is definitely Tony Iommi. I mean, that guy is a god. So for everything from the original Sabbath stuff to the Dio stuff, which is just phenomenal. Dio as an artist and vocalist is another huge inspiration. Just that commitment and that, you know, inspiring vibe. But Iommi's riffs are just godly. His work with Glenn Hughes on his solo materials, just on other, people should really seek that out. Not just the Sabbath stuff, but his stuff, you know, with the Glenn Hughes stuff and his Iommi solo project, which was awesome. because he had all these different vocalists come in and sing on him, like Rollins and Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, Ian Astbury. So it's just like his music and all these different guys on it is just great record. And right now, I think the guy who's really kind of inspiring me right now is Steven Wilson, who used to be the vocalist for Porcupine Tree. It's more in the progressive rock vein, but he's dabbling in electronica, in industrial, and he does almost pop material, but at the same time it's in progressive rock, and he's got heavier moments as well. And he's got Marco Miniman, who played with Ethel Duath and a bunch of, he's just like the go-to session drummer. This guy's phenomenal. And Guthrie Govan is the lead guitarist in the last 2 records that he did, and that guy is just a phenomenal player as far as guitar goes. I mean, just he's able to wrench a lot of emotion out of just a few notes. He's kind of got that David Gilmour from Pink Floyd kind of vibe, where he's just taking a subtle note and just bend it, and you're just like, oh my god. So right now, that's what I've really been listening to a lot. And then just going back and checking out, like, a lot of the bands like Confessor and Watchtower, just stuff that, was around back then and kind of fell through the cracks that a lot of people forgot about, but that's really what's been inspiring to me. I tend to drift towards cult bands or artists that are a little bit on the fringe.
With your projects, when do you start? What project did you start on? And what are you currently doing now?
You mean as far as when I first began?
Like the first live band, the first live band, all until now.
I'm going to try to keep this short because it can be there's a lot of them. I'd say first live band I was ever doing, the first really serious band I did was a band called Cayman, which you were a part of. The original lineup was us two and our brother. That lasted from 2001 to 2005, recorded a bunch of demos. That was the band I would say that I learned really to hone my chops within that band, and try and gain confidence as a stage performer, and trying to play heavier music and be serious about it and practice and go through the whole thing and make connections. After that, when Cayman split up,